Welcome to the Bros Talking Soccer podcast, a podcast where three brothers generally talk about what's happening in American and European soccer. It is day 14 of the 2019 World Cup. I can't remember if I said my name was Dave. My name is Dave, and we're talking about the World Cup here. It is the final group stage matches, and my two brothers are working since it's the middle of the week. It is Thursday, June 20th, and I am joined by our friend Matt Lefler. Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing just amazing, Dave. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to hear you're doing amazing. That's always good. I am, it's been an amazing 2 weeks of watching a hell of a lot of soccer, but I am looking forward to tomorrow to just have a little bit of a break. Not complaining or anything like that, but I'm just, it's been a lot of soccer. So I'm excited to sort of recharge and then come back even stronger on Saturday. So that's where I'm at right now. Anything to add to that?
Well, I can certainly relate. About the last 30 minutes of the United States-Sweden game, I lost interest. I was a little soccered out. I felt a little guilty for that. I almost entered into a shame spiral, but I prevailed. I sat down, was one within myself. I fell silent and things were okay.
I'm happy to hear that. I to be honest, yeah, the ending of that match, I started to lose focus. I was paying more attention to the Chile-Thailand game, but we're going to talk about all four matches. Let me do a quick plug here. So we're part of the Big Heads Media Network. If you're a fan of podcasts, go to bigheadsmedia.com. They have at this point, they're adding constantly. It seems like 3 or 4 podcasts every day. So I think they're up over 50 different podcasts on there about all different kinds of topics. So if you're a podcast fan, go check out Big Heads Media for sports, entertainment, crime, documentary, history, like everything you could possibly think of. It's available on bigheadsmedia.com. We're also a part of Stadium Scene. StadiumScene.tv is a website that has all different kinds of sports content. So they have a ton of podcasts on there. They also have blogs, YouTube videos, and some other stuff. I know Jillian Fisher, if you're a hockey fan, you might recognize that name. She has been a part of the network since kind of the beginning, and she sort of has blown up and is all over cool. NBC and all that. So really cool. And there's tons of other awesome content on there, but she's just someone that I wanted to call out. So if you're a hockey fan, check her out. And there's all kinds of soccer content and things like that. Before we talk about today's matches, I wanted to do our random question from our friend Jeff, who has been asking us questions every day. And so first of all, it is Jeff's birthday today. So Jeff, happy birthday if you're listening or joining us live on YouTube.
Happy birthday, Fedge.
There you go. Yeah. then we are, he's got a birthday themed question. So Matt, we are competing to host Jeff for his birthday in this scenario. And he would like to know what meal we would prepare for him and what film or TV series we would watch with dinner, and if there's any other entertainment. So what would you do to entertain Jeff on his birthday?
Well, I don't know how old Jeff is, Dave, but pushing into my later 40s, I kind of don't care about this stuff as much as I used to. So I'd basically make him a hamburger, probably throw a little grass-fed butter on that thing as I'm grilling that sucker up because it makes them taste delicious. It really does. It's ridiculous how good they taste when you like slap a little butter on a hamburger. It sounds... I'm just not going to talk about it anymore. Try it if you get a chance to. It's fantastic. I'd probably play him a little Spanish style guitar because that's what I am personally working on with the guitar playing. Yes, Dave's doing a little air guitar in the background. You notice that basically what I'm going to do for Jeff is what I feel like doing for myself. But it's all going to be good though, right? I've been playing guitar for over 30 years. Hopefully that's entertaining. And lastly, the only reason the TV would be on was for the Women's World Cup.
All right. I love it. So, I mean, to be honest, Jeff, I don't know you that well either. So I'm going to go with, I've been making steak and I like to make homemade dry rub. So I'll get a little dry rub on there, like cayenne, a little bit of salt and pepper, paprika, some stuff like that. Throw maybe some mustard seed, do a dry rub on a steak. And then, which I know some people think is blasphemous and you should only, just put the meat by itself. But I like the dry rub. And then, chop up some vegetables, maybe some carrots, some potatoes, some green beans, just cook them in some olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper, and, just a nice simple meal. I can make it pretty good. And then we'll watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia while we eat. And so, I mean, that's one of the shows that if you haven't seen before, you can kind of just watch it and then still pick up on things, and it's still pretty entertaining. And I don't have any talents like Matt. So as far as other entertainment, I can juggle a little bit, but I don't think,
great.
yeah, I don't think it's that entertaining. So yeah, I got nothing. So that's what we would do for your birthday, Jeff. But happy birthday. We thank you for joining us throughout. I think you've been here all 14 days. So we really appreciate that. But Matt, let's talk about the World Cup. We have 4 matches to discuss. Quick reminder for everybody. These matches, 2 of the matches happened simultaneously, and then the other 2 happened simultaneously. So Matt and I broke up the first matches. So Matt, who'd you watch? I'm already forgetting. Netherlands, Canada, right?
Yes.
And then I watched Cameroon, New Zealand, and then we both ended up watching Sweden versus USA because that was kind of more interesting to the both of us. And I had Chile, Thailand up on the second screen, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. And it was, quite a dramatic ending. But Matt, why don't you take over at this point and recap Canada, Netherlands for us?
So first off, I want to say, Jeff, I love you. Thanks for being here. You have provided at least minutes of entertainment while we've been doing this, so I appreciate you for doing that. And I can't thank you enough.
Well said.
All right. So this is a match for who comes in first and second in Group E.
Yep.
Is this Group E? Okay,
yes.
Good. All right. So Canada comes out in a 4-3-3. They tend to defend in a 4-4-2. The Netherlands comes out in a 4-3-3, and then they defend in either a 4-3-3 or a 4-1-3-2, which I thought was an interesting wrinkle. Canada's going forward. They look like the better team, like with more purposeful possession at the beginning of the match. That definitely changes as the half goes on. In the second minute, Janine Becky is tripped up supposedly inside the box. The ref calls for a penalty. It, of course, goes to VAR. VAR takes 3 minutes as per usual. The game is stopped for 3 minutes. It's only been going on for like 2 minutes, and yet the game's already stopped for 3 minutes. To be fair, though, there were 5 minutes, I believe, added on at the end of the half. So unlike in the Scotland-Argentina game, this somewhat meaningless game, but it's not really meaningless because both the teams are going forward and they're jockeying for position. These teams didn't get screwed by the ref in terms of time added on. So after VAR takes a look at it, it's not a penalty. I'm really glad that they got it right. I am. But taking 3 minutes to do VAR for stuff like that is getting a little ridiculous. It's getting tedious. David Goldblatt, go ahead.
Well, no, you might be saying the same thing. Well, I was just going to say JP Dellacamera brought it up on the USA Sweden broadcast, kind of probably what you're going to say. VAR is supposed to be used for clear and obvious errors. And so if it's clear and obvious error, it shouldn't take 3 minutes to overturn. And so
this is true.
That's all I was going to say. What did David Goldblatt have to say about it?
So David Goldblatt is the author of the book, The Ball is Round, which is a great history of, there it is. Prop time. Everybody go on YouTube. Oh, that is just a gorgeous presentation. Dave, you should become a book model.
I'll look into it.
All right. So anyway, he used to be on a podcast called Dummy, which was part of the Howler Magazine podcast network. And he was vehemently against VAR. And I just thought he was an idiot. I was like, no. VAR is going to be great for the game. It's not going to take very long. They'll be able to make decisions in 30 or 40 seconds. Nope. Goldblatt was right. It has really destroyed the flow of just about every game in this World Cup. It's almost weird when they don't have play interrupted by some VAR decision. So anyway, it ends up being a free kick outside the box. So the Netherlands kind of gets off there. Christine Sinclair takes the free kick right into the wall, bounces out. Netherlands tries to go on a counterattack. Nothing really happens. Okay, so just advancing now to the 22nd minute, the Netherlands pulls a great offside trap on Jordan Huitema. Just an absolutely fantastic one. Huitema had checked the line. She was kind of drifting behind some of the other players. The defender who was keeping her offside totally let her on, was behind her, saw that they were behind the line, and then immediately stepped forward as the pass was played. Huitema did get a goal. had it been onside, but because of that brilliant offside trap, which I did not, I think it was, no, I didn't mark who it was. Anyway, it was just a great play. I love it when defenses are like that canny and they really trick the forwards. Okay, so in the 23rd minute, Canada wins a free kick in a dangerous position when number 6 Decker fouls Janine Becky. And then Decker ends up coming away with a yellow card. The free kick kind of amounts to nothing. Canada, throughout most of at least the first 30 or 35 minutes, they were trying to go fairly direct. They would kind of do like a mixed possession direct thing where they would carry the ball forward or pass the ball forward up until maybe 60% of the field. And then they would look up and go to either Jordan Huitema or Christine Sinclair. So Jordan Huitema, I believe, is 18. I think she's still 18. She's very tall. She's 5'10". She's also extremely fast. She's the fastest player on the Canadian team, or at least used to be. And Christine Sinclair is known for being incredibly proficient with her head. Anything?
No. Sorry, I was breathing.
Oh, that's cool. I thought, yeah. Anyway, so moving on. So Canada was just trying to go direct to hit either of those two players. It was kind of working. The Netherlands looked like they weren't really dealing with it very well. And then the Netherlands, they were trying to possess the ball all the way up the pitch. And occasionally they would go long on the ground, ride white to Van de Sanden or Van de Sanden. Yeah, we'll go with that. Van de Sanden. In the 27th minute, Miedema gets into a foot race with Buchanan. Buchanan makes a great defensive play, outruns her, and is able to play the ball wide away from any kind of danger. In the 30th minute, the Netherlands has their first real chance. So basically the Netherlands had been out possessing Canada up to then, but the possession hadn't really amounted to much. Canada looked by far the more dangerous of the two sides. So it was basically like the Netherlands had to get their act together. So Van de Sanden gets the ball out wide right, makes a really nice cross. Labe tries to parry the bar over the ball. She misses it. It bounces right in front of the goal. Van de Donk can't get on the end of it, and Canada is able to clear, but it was one of those situations where you're like, how did that not end up in the back of the net? The Netherlands is dangerous when they quickly switch the point of attack and they pull Canada out of the position. So this was the trick of the Netherlands. Carry the ball forward, use either Bartons or somebody in the midfield to drag the opponent, in this case Canada, over to the left side, and then blast a very quick driven ball over to Van de Sanden to get on the end of it. So I didn't write down which minute this was. Miedema misses a very excellent far post chance.
Yeah, I saw this one, and this is one where she's got her kind of the back to the goal. She turns
Right.
and she fakes a shot with her left foot, right?
Right.
And it's all just very dramatic, and she really sells it, and then creates a shot with her right foot. She drags it and then hits the far post.
Yeah.
So it was really good play by her.
Well, the amazing thing was how she drags it across her body and like completely wrong foots Zadorsky and creates so much space. That was a gorgeous piece of footwork on her part. I hadn't been super impressed with Miedema up until now, but I didn't watch their second match. I was impressed with her in this match. It was really cool to see. Let's see, the last 5 minutes, it was basically all the Netherlands with dangerous possession. Canada has to work out wide, or has to mark out to their left better, because Van de Sanden was getting lots and lots and lots of space. See, in the 38th minute, Canada makes a mistake in the midfield. Fleming takes a rare poor touch. Number 14, Gronin, passes the ball forward to Miedema. Labe makes a fantastic save by racing out and slide tackling the ball. That's going to be my save of the day, by the way. Buchanan then 2-foot tackles Miedema from behind as she tries to get on the ball again, and Buchanan ends up with the yellow. So the first half summary is initially Canada was the more dangerous of the two sides. They possessed with purpose, despite having 40% of the possession. Once the Netherlands found their width and they started using it, they became very dangerous. The Netherlands looks like they're going to be the first team to score. They look the better going forward. Ashley Lawrence, though, on Canada, number 10, had thus far shut down Bartens for the Netherlands. Bartens, this match was strangely a non-factor.
Is this Martin's number 11?
Yes,
Okay.
Martin.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Nowhere. I didn't know
I
if
thought that was weird. I was like, why am I saying Bartens? I don't even remember her name. But there it is. Okay, so it's now Martins. Every time I said Bartens previously, it's been Martins.
Okay, all right, but it's number 11, right?
It is number 11.
Okay,
yeah.
all right, cool.
Really technical and really fun out on the left. Fun to watch.
I think her first name's like Lika or something like that.
Yes. All right. Well, good stuff. I'm so proud of myself.
That's all right.
Let's see. Van de Sanden, who was up against Alicia Chapman, who is also actually quite quick, has been a different story. Van de Sanden clearly got the better of Alicia Chapman, her positioning wise. And I don't understand how a player that fast can drift out wide so often and be left unmarked. I just don't get it. But okay. So anything to say on the first half?
Nope. We're about 10 minutes into this recap and we have to get to 3 other matches and preview some others. So that's all I wanted to say.
No.
Again, not rushing, just providing some context for you.
Let me see if I can get, because I didn't actually mark the goals because I actually took fewer notes than this time.
Okay. I can pull up the goal times if you want to talk through. So the first one happens in the 54th.
It is the 54th. Yeah. In the 54th minute, the Netherlands gets a free kick on Canada's right side. It's because Ashley Lawrence fouled Van de Donk, and Spitze takes a free kick. It's a really nice free kick. Decker puts a head on it, and then it goes far post past Labe. Labe was completely wrong-footed. Let's see. And then in the 60th minute, Canada gets their goal. It comes from a beautiful 9-pass sequence. Canada works the ball from left to right. Lawrence gets the ball wide right at the edge of the box. She makes a brilliant cross between the keeper and the back line. It was in no man's land. It was beautiful. Sinclair runs onto it, and she buries it in the top netting. And the funny thing is it hits one of the supports in the back, so it immediately shoots back out and almost looks like it wasn't a goal. For a second, I thought it might not have been, but that was not the case. Then the subs coming on, 68th minute, Leon comes on for Sinclair. Let's see. Chapman also comes off for Riviere, which actually turned out to be a pretty good sub because Riviere is faster than Chapman and frankly seemed to make fewer mistakes, even though she's significantly younger. Let's see. The Netherlands make some subs. In the 73rd minute, the possession was up to 50-50, which I was surprised by because I thought that the Netherlands was out possessing Canada, but they weren't. Let's see. In the 75th minute, the Netherlands get their go-ahead goal off a brilliant cross from Van Lunteren. Is it Berenstain or Biervenstein? Anyway, her. Labe looked like she had a chance to make a play on the ball, but it goes right under her hand. And Biervenstein was positioned well and buried it. There were a couple more subs. One thing to notice before I kind of sum up is in the 85th minute, Van de Donk fouls Buchanan by grabbing her arm and then yanking it very vigorously. I bring this up because Van de Donk also kind of shoves Jessie Fleming very hard in the back, almost to the point where it was a punch as she runs by, and this was off the ball. So no refs were looking at this. I just kind of happened to see it on the telecast. Had they seen this, this could have been a red card offense because of what she did. Jessie Fleming stops and kind of like turns her head really quickly and looks at her. And then Van de Donk about a minute and a half later, or 2 minutes later, fouls Buchanan like that. Now to sum up, the Netherlands deserved the win. They created better scoring chances. They had a bit more quality up top. Canada's technical, but the Netherlands is more so. If Canada wants to reach the next level and become a significant contender, players like Janine Becky need higher quality crosses. Basically, they need to not go over everybody in the box, and they need a slightly better first touch. I mean, not, like they need to make it from 3 or 4 feet to like 2 feet, like in close quarters. And also younger players like Heidema need more vision and making quicker decisions. She had Fleming wide open on a brilliant potential chance, but she put her head down and then just drove into defenders, and Fleming she would have had a really good chance to score because she would have been 1-on-1 with the keeper. And also Heidema wouldn't really pass, wouldn't really one-touch pass. So, and that's pretty much it for Canada, Netherlands. They both advance. Canada comes in second in the group.
All right. And so that match finished 2-1. And then the match I was watching, Cameroon versus New Zealand, also finished 2-1. Although, so both of the teams in this, Cameroon and New Zealand, needed at least 2 goals and a victory to move on. Based on the first half, you wouldn't have noted that because it was sloppy. It wasn't very clinical. And you could kind of tell that both of these teams aren't necessarily the best with possession. And so I thought that I didn't think New Zealand came out in a 3-5-2 when they were in attack, and then they fell back into a 5-3-2. Cameroon, meanwhile, was in a 4-3-3. I was really impressed with Fu Zhou, the number 8 center midfielder for Cameroon. She's someone to continue watching. She's very, very strong in the middle of the pitch, tough tackler, and also she's very good with her long passing with both feet. And she'll get the ball into space and away from defenders, and it's really impressive. She's probably the Cameroonian player I've been most impressed with throughout this tournament. Throughout the game, and this is something Cameroon has been doing in all of their matches, they are very physical and at times kind of dumb physical. And what I mean by that is they were going to win like challenges in the air, and they were just coming through New Zealand players and giving away fouls, needless fouls that they didn't necessarily need to give up, whether they were in dangerous areas, whether the New Zealand player was pinned back in their own half, or whether Cameroon was up at the time and then conceding these kind of dumb fouls was, again, just something that they need to clean up because little things like that make differences at the World Cup. And Cameroon, again, I've touched on this in pretty much every match that they've played. They are very, very individualistic. And when they get into the attacking third, they're either hitting shots like they're not even good open shots. If they have a window of opportunity and a half chance, they're hitting shots from like 35, 40 yards out. Very unlikely to go anywhere near the net, and they didn't. And or they're just dribbling way too much. And then as one player just dribbles, the rest of the attack just sort of stands there and waits. And so that's something, again, that they need to clean up moving forward. The only thing that I actually noted from the first half was a 19th minute long ball by Onguene over the top. No, someone played it over the top to Onguene. She gets to it, tries to chip Naylor, and Naylor gets a good hand to it. And Naylor throughout the first half was kind of caught in no man's land. She didn't know when to come off her line, and the speed of Cameroon was really sort of playing on her. And Naylor is the New Zealand goalkeeper. One last thing to watch out for moving forward, because Cameroon does score the 2 goals and will be advancing in this World Cup. They are still just don't know how to defend short corners. New Zealand, the handful of times where they tried to do that, they only sent out one defender, and New Zealand created dangerous opportunities from that. I can't believe it's the 3rd group stage game, and this is still happening. Also, Cameroon's not really tracking runners, specifically from midfield. Their defenders are pretty good, but any sort of creative movement from midfielders or in the attacking third, so Cameroon's defensive third, Cameroon just loses runners very, very easily. Second half comes out, and that's when things start to happen. 57th minute, Cameroon gets their goal. They did really well to possess. This was one of the times where Onguene had the ball, and she did well to keep it and then shared it, and the ball was moved somewhat quickly, and they get a goal out of it. So Onguene possesses it, works it out wide to Luco, the left back. She serves it in on the ground, and Shoot has a bouncing control. And so she's got her back to goal, and the ball bounces. It's not really the greatest control, but as she does that, the ball bounces up to her chest, and she's able to turn her chest and get it up off her chest, then off the top of her shoulder, and sort of roll Ursig, and then has a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and she slots it home with her right foot. The announcers were talking about this probably should have been a penalty. I still think the top of your shoulder is not a handball, and I don't think this should have been a penalty. And so good goal there. 64th minute. This is going to be my save of the game or saves of the game, but Fu Zhou has a long ball over the top to Onguene. She then cuts it back on a New Zealand defender more or less within the 6-yard box and has a one-on-one with Naylor. Naylor just makes herself big. She stops that first shot. The ball bounces back to Onguene. She again makes herself big, saves it again. The ball then bounces to Kunda, who then tries to go low and to Naylor's left, and she gets down really well and saves it, and then the ball is ultimately I think fired wide at the end of it. But again, Naylor, 3 saves right in a row to keep her team into it. And yeah, doesn't handle short corner. 80th minute, then New Zealand gets a goal. They have a pretty good period of possession right here, and the ball gets worked wide to Bowen. Bowen serves in across. There's very little pressure on the Cameroonian center back, Awana, and she just takes a wild swing with her left foot and just kicks it into her own net. And that's how New Zealand scores their only goal of this World Cup. And again, it really came from nothing. New Zealand didn't have much of anything going forward outside of those couple opportunities on short corners, and then this play. After the own goal, both teams realized that they needed to get vertical, and the game just sort of devolved into a track meet, just back and forth. And so it at least was entertaining from that perspective. Nguene just was not hitting the target. I was convinced that this was going to end 1-1. I even started writing down in my notes that it was going to be 1-1. And then 95th minute comes along. New Zealand, rightfully so, they needed a goal. They pushed everybody forward, had a bad turnover, and Cameroon gets the ball to shoot. She has a cutback. She actually has two cutbacks on Percival. The first one, she cuts from her left to her right, and Percival sort of, dives for it. And then she's got a window with her right foot, and Percival is 100% convinced she's about to shoot the ball and does a slide this time. Shoot cuts it back yet again, and then just has a one-on-one with Naylor inside the 18, curves it to the far post. It goes in. It's 2-1. And again, this was in the 95th minute. There was 4 or 5 minutes of stoppage time, and then there is no kickoff after this. And again, this was another situation where the announcer didn't even realize the game was over. And again, it was slightly odd ending, but incredible from Cameroon. They're through into the knockout rounds. And so that is my quick recap. Any thoughts, any questions or anything like that?
I'm really surprised that New Zealand was not able to take more advantage of the Cameroonian defense, because it's been pretty bad. And New Zealand does actually have some quality going forward. I literally thought that New Zealand was going to, I know we picked like 2-1 to New Zealand, but it was disappointing. I thought they would be able to generate something, but I was wrong.
Yeah, watching it, I mean, Cameroon more or less had the better chances throughout. And I don't know if it was a case of nerves or if it was just a case of Cameroon scrambling pretty well. Because, again, I think Cameroon has really good individual players in spots and on defense, again, that way. But they, again, don't necessarily defend collectively very, very well. And Fuzhou is really good in one-on-one situations and strength and bodying people off the ball and keeping possession, but, switches off sometimes, and there are opportunities, and New Zealand just wasn't clinical enough. And so that's what happened in this one. Let's just touch on Thailand Chile real quick before we dive into Sweden. Does that work for you?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, so Thailand, Chile, like I said before, we watched Sweden versus USA. I had this up on a second screen. I don't have any notes on this, but Chile, I know, hit the crossbar in the first half from a long-distance shot, and also had a shot cleared off the line by a defender with her head, and off her head, off the post and out. So Chile, unfortunately, didn't get any goals in the first half. And every time I looked down was more or less dominating from what I could see. Again, I didn't watch the match, but I had it up on the second screen, and the stats kind of support that. 66% possession at the end of the day, 30 shots, 23 chances created, and 83% pass success rate. Only 5 shots on target though. So halftime comes, it's still 0-0. Chile, I should have set this stage earlier. Chile knows if they score 3 goals, they are moving on. If they get a 3-goal victory is what I mean. So, they give up 1, they need to score 4. They don't give up any, they need to score 3. So they know that's what they need. Goes into half 0-0, come out of the half, they get a goal. I can't remember how this first one happens. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I don't remember how the first one happens. Oh, the first one actually, is a shot off the post. So they have the ball in the 6-yard box, or in the 18-yard box. They do well to work it there. They take a shot to the far post. It bounces off the far post, comes back off of Boonsing, the Thailand goalkeeper, and she hits it into her own net. Just really unfortunate, just sort of freak play. That's how they get their first goal. Their second goal is through Urrutia, and this one is crossed in to her. She gets ahead to it, and it's not the quickest or paciest header. And Boonsing, I think, does really poorly on this one. I'm going to call out the Thai keeper here because it looks like she was scared to hit the post. And Matt, I know we talked about this with penalties and things like that, but the ball isn't moving with a ton of pace, and she's very, very slow to react to her left and does this kind of half-ass dive, doesn't get a hand to it, and it sort of just trickles into the net. And again, it was just kind of odd to watch in real time. And then that was in the 80th minute. So Chile has 10 minutes to get a goal. At this point, I have abandoned watching the USA-Sweden game because, Matt, we talked about we were kind of switched off late in that USA-Sweden game. And so I'm just watching this game. And what happens here is the play that sort of, not controversial, but the most important play of the second half is a ball is played kind of over the top and it's looping and it's falling to Urrutia again. And she gets a foot to it, lobs Boonsing, and it's going in. It's cleared off the line by a Thai player, goes out, no goal. But Boonsing comes through and just delivers a flying knee right to Urrutia's chest. And so often, goalkeepers get away with this, where they don't touch the ball and they just absolutely clatter players, and it's never called. And if the opposite is always true. If the player comes anywhere near a goalkeeper, they're overly protected. I get that to an extent, but this one then goes to VAR and they ultimately call a penalty. And I'm happy that they do because, again, this is 100% a foul and this needs to be called more often because, Urrutia paid the price for it. And if Boonsing is not coming out like that, maybe she gets a stronger hit on it and it isn't able to be cleared off the line. Having said all that, goes to VAR, gets a penalty call. Lara steps up. Boonsing does well to stay on her line. Lara fires a shot off of the crossbar. It bounces out. Can't get a goal, and this one ultimately ends 2-0 to Thailand. The referee adds 7 minutes of stoppage time. Again, getting back to Matt, like you were talking about with the other match, the referee adds an appropriate amount of stoppage time. Chile just couldn't break through, and it's heartbreaking for them. They get their first ever goals at a World Cup. They get their first ever points at a World Cup, first ever win, but unfortunately come up a goal short from moving on. And so that, any thoughts on that, Matt?
No, but I do want to go back to some comments I was reading pretty much on Reddit about the usage of VAR, because it actually has been kind of a topic on the soccer subreddit today, especially after the Scotland. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking who they played? Argentina. Thank you. The Scotland-Argentina game. What somebody brought up was, well, first of all, it was this. It's the Premier League isn't going to use VAR to police whether or not keepers stay on their line. That's going to be up to the officials on the field, which, okay, that's fine. That kind of answers Jeff's question from a few days ago. Like, who's going to get red carded for it? Apparently nobody, because they're not going to do it. Now,
so you win that bet?
I guess I do. What was it? Somebody brought up a really interesting point about the Scotland game. She literally left like a millisecond early. She really did try to time leaving her line on time. And it's really penalizing the keepers for not being like human computers. And so it's like, if you're a keeper, you're going to always be worried about whether or not your foot's on the line, not making actually a great or technical leap. And so that's actually a little bothersome to me. You got to try to figure out, and to me, this has tarnished the World Cup thus far. So I just wanted to bring that up. So
yeah, no. And the other thing that is factoring into all of this, I can't remember the Canadian goalkeeper who's on Fox's coverage. She does the show with Aaron West. Matt, do you know who I'm talking about?
Karina LeBlanc.
Yes. Is she the one that's on Fox's coverage?
Yeah.
So she was talking last night with Aaron West on their show, and she said goalkeepers are taught to move forward and then spring to a side. And so the other thing with this rule is that goalkeepers have to stand on the line. They can't stand even behind the line. And so even if we allowed them to stand behind,
you can't stand.
No, you can't stand behind the line. Like if they were able to stand behind the line, I could understand this a little bit more, because then you just start a little bit further back. Then you make sure you keep your feet on the line. And that's the other part of this rule that's really frustrating. And getting back to the Thailand Chile match, Boonsing picks up a yellow card on the foul that she committed to earn the penalty. I was worried we were going to see a red card situation here, and didn't happen. She kept her feet on the line. But that's something that, I had expressed worry about, and we didn't see it, but that was a potential there. So anything else to add?
No, that's good.
All right. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Do you want to take the reins on Sweden USA, or do you want me to do it?
I would prefer that you do it.
Okay. So Sweden versus USA happens. This one finishes 2-0. So again, scorelines are mirrored. It's wild stuff happening today. So this one also ends 2-0 at the same time. First thing that I noted was that Julie Ertz was precautionarily rested. I guess she had something with her hip. I didn't know how. I think Mewis was her stand-in, even though Haran kind of filled the role a little bit more.
Well, they play when Mewis and Haran are on the field together, they basically play a double pivot.
But I thought like Haran was a little bit further back, but maybe that was
to be, but they're always kind of switching back and forth like that.
Got it. Okay. And then the other thing that I noted before the match was that we had a captain rotation. So 3 matches for the U.S., 3 different captains. So this one was Alex Morgan, whereas the first match was Megan Rapinoe. Second match was Carli Lloyd. Matt, any thoughts on the rotating captaincy?
Not really. I think the veterans on the team are so widely respected that it's not going to make any difference. All the other players on the pitch are going to, like, if you can't trust Alex Morgan, then there's something wrong with you. If you can't trust Megan Rapinoe to fight your battles verbally, then there's something wrong with you. And the same thing with Carli Lloyd, who was the captain in the previous World Cup. So I don't really have an issue with it. It is strange because it doesn't normally happen. I also think it's maybe a way to honor more players. So that's my thought.
Yeah, for me, I just think it's odd. Like you said, they're all veteran leaders. It's not like getting the armband is really going to change the way that they play and interact and lead. So I would rather just pick one, and then it really doesn't matter from that point. Otherwise, this is just like a weird sort of discussion. So I don't know. I wanted to highlight that. 3rd minute, U.S. gets the goal. They came out the stronger side. So it's just a low-driven corner on the ground by Megan Rapinoe. There is a possible touch. Mewis is just at the near post. I'm still not certain if she gets a foot to it or not, but she gets herself in the way. The ball then squirts through past her, and then Haran comes through in between the Swedish players, taps into the open net. U.S. is up 1-0 within 3 minutes. Matt, thoughts on the goal?
It was a nice goal. It was good to see. I had questions about the Swedish defense going into this. I was confident they were not going to play a low block. They didn't seem to, as far as I could tell. And I didn't think that this was going to be a blowout, and it didn't turn out to be a blowout. But this was a pretty big mistake, not marking Haran. I mean, Haran's a freight train. She's incredibly strong. She's not slow. She's so technical. She just doesn't miss. She's yeah, so I was surprised that she was so unmarked going through the box like that, but it was a good goal for the U.S.
Yeah, and I think she did well to lose her marker, and also just the chaos of going to the near post and having all of that happen, I think freed her up as well. The next thing I noted was that Sweden's press, and I know, Matt, we talked about, your thoughts on the Swedish press. So, I thought that they were pressing relatively high, and I know you had seen kind of similar things, but then, noticed some other things. So what did you think about the Swedish press?
So I started looking at it more in the second half. Basically, the Swedish press ended up being kind of disorganized, where the striker Blackstenius was pressing one of the players on the United States, and then Sweden wouldn't really press around her. It was like a single player press, which doesn't really work that well. It just kind of makes people pass around it, and then it doesn't really accomplish anything except for wear out your striker. A lot of times when Blackstenius would force somebody over to one side with a press, then the other Swedish players who I thought should be trying to advance onto the player who then received the ball, they would rotate over late. They would take too long to get up there and press themselves. A couple times in the match, Blackstenius looked like she was trying to wave other players forward into the press, and it just was not happening. And so I thought they actually looked fairly disorganized.
And so I think that it's not a disservice, but I think the U.S. played a big role in that because the U.S. is so technical and could pass through the press. And so I actually thought early on Sweden was doing an effective job of pressing with numbers. And around the 15th, 20th minute or so, you could see a change in the Swedish press system where, like you said, they just said Blackstenius, basically run around. And then they were, Aslani was man marking Haran. And so at that point, they tried to adjust, and the U.S. just did a good job of playing through it from what I saw. And it was those sort of like Sweden would think that they could, a pressing cue, like a player had the ball, they would swarm to it, and the U.S. would make a little run, like a little V shape. So they would cut back and then cut forward, and there would just be a little slip ball, and then they were through the press. And so I can understand that Sweden's press looked like it was disorganized, but I also think a part of that is a credit to the U.S. being able to play through it. So good call by you, and just well done by the U.S. 15th minute, Lavelle has a pretty poor turnover. There's a shot by Blackstenius from pretty far away. Doesn't challenge Nair too much, but I just thought it was good to get her an early save. I thought she made the saves that she had to make. I thought on a couple of crosses, she didn't convey a huge sense of confidence for me, Alyssa Nair. So that's something to keep an eye on. Any thoughts on that? Did you notice the same thing?
That's just kind of par for the course with Nair. She's a decent goalkeeper. She's good. I don't think she's world class. I forget what. Oh yeah, I was listening to the Cooligans, and they kind of made the assumption, well, the United States is the best team. They should have the best keeper, right? No. You don't need to have the best of anything to be the best team, so that's kind of how that goes. Nair Nair and Dunn, unfortunately, they're both in the back, are kind of my weak spots on the team as it is anyway. So,
and when that leads into the next thing I wanted to talk about, 21st minute, Sweden has their best attack up until that point. There's no one in the center defensive midfielder role when the U.S. commits a turnover, and I believe it was, I thought I wrote her name down. There was somebody.
It was Moran, wasn't it?
No. There was an attacker for Sager. I think Sager has the ball. She drives in from the left side and just continues to drive into the space. Nobody steps to her. And at this point, Crystal Dunn condenses from a left fullback just way too tight to Becky Sauerbrunn. And I know, Matt, we were talking about this, and she had done this a couple other times as the game went on. And also, when she condenses, every single one of the U.S. center backs has their hips square to the player with the ball. And so if a ball is slipped through, which it was in this instance, everybody has to turn. And when you're defending, you want to be on the half turn already to accelerate into that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't understand, and I don't understand why, because that's another thing too, is when I watched Sauerbrunn before, she was always lining up like perpendicular to the attacker, because you want to show them to a side, because you want to drive them either into pressure or drive them outside. And so it was weird that everybody was flat. Yeah, like you were saying, there was square. I always called it flat to the attackers, because it's poor defensive posture.
Absolutely. And so then Seeger slips it into Aslani. Aslani has an okay touch. If she takes a better touch there, she's in a much better position.
Right.
She fires the shot in, and it's more or less right at Nair. But there was another instance with Dunn getting in tight again. And again, against better attackers, that's going to be a weak spot. And I don't want to harp on Crystal Dunn, because she's kind of isn't her fault. She's not a left back.
Not at all.
She's not a left back. She's being forced to play this position, and her, I'm sure, natural tendencies are coming through when there's moments of chaos, and she's doing her best, but she can't. There was no reason for her to get as tight to Becky Sauerbrunn as she did on a couple different occasions, and that's something that other teams may look to exploit down the wings, especially if they come up against a side like the Netherlands, who has really dangerous attackers, or France in the quarterfinals. Stuff like that. That's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as we move forward. Any other thoughts here, Matt?
So the thing about Dunn not really being at fault, the reason why she's put into that left fullback position is because of her ability going forward. And basically everything has been touted about how good she is going forward. Well, damn it, you're a defender. And I'm really frustrated, because she wasn't even really given a chance to develop as a defender, because her job so often is to go forward. Now, is she better at defending than when she first started doing it? Yes, she is. Is she a world-class defender? No, she's not. I think she's average, quite frankly. And that's better than what she was. I thought she was a poor defender when she started, but always great going forward. But I don't think that Ellis has put her into a position to really succeed. When the United States starts playing teams like you were saying, with especially the Netherlands and France, who really expand going forward, they really explore the space. They really use the space. Especially with somebody like Van de Sanden, who's so fast and so sneaky. She's going to get wide. She's going to be wide open. And then Dunn's going to be 1v1 on her. Now, they're probably equally fast and equally as technical, but Van de Sanden's used to, basically eating left backs for dinner. And so I think it's going to be a real issue. And then Dunn's also going to face Gianni from France, who might be the fastest player in the women's game. going out wide. And so I don't think that she, based on how she's been used up until now, I don't think she's been given a recipe to succeed. And it's not fair to her because Dunn is an outstanding player.
Yeah, and I think that her 1v1 when she gets back and, squares up the defender and is in the right position, an attacker, she is in the right position. I think her 1v1 defending is okay.
It's okay.
Because of her speed, that plays a huge role into it as well. And she's clearly willing to get, mix it up, even though she's on the smaller side. She's really, getting up for headers and things like that. It's more her positioning when she's not in, marking the ball carriers where we really see it. Last thing I noted from the first half was just that, the U.S. was doing really well early on. And then as the half wore on, Sweden started to get, more involved, and it started to be a little bit more back and forth. And Haran was doing an excellent job of switching the point of attack with both feet. It was really impressive. She had a number of balls with her left foot that were just on point, and I believe she is right-footed. So any other thoughts on the first half, Matt?
Not really. I was starting to get tired of Heath carrying the ball, never passing it. Letting the Swedish defense set up. It's like, hey, okay.
Yeah, I have that noted too, and we're going to talk about her in the 50th minute. So I was just saving it, but I noted the exact same thing.
Because, well, it gets worse as the game goes on, frankly. So
yeah. So 50 or halftime comes, Lloyd comes on for Morgan. Apparently she may have picked up a knock. And so that was interesting. So Carli Lloyd comes on at center forward, at least initially. She played a little bit of center midfield and then went back to center forward, and she comes on as the captain. US gets a goal in the 50th minute. And so US has the ball on the left side of the pitch. It's Megan. No. Yeah. Is this the one? No. Okay. So the ball gets crossed in, it gets cleared, and then Kelly O'Hara does well to keep the ball in. So she's the right back. She pinches in, and who they play in Sweden tries to clear the ball, and she is able to sort of smother it, has the ball. She sort of almost falls over herself. But just because she has put that pressure on, Sweden then has a terrible clearance and gets the ball out wide to Megan Rapinoe, which is where Kelly O'Hara was trying to get the ball anyways.
Okay.
Megan Rapinoe then crosses the ball into a Carli Lloyd, who is clearly offside. And the Swedish center back, let me pull up her name, who tries to play the ball. Matt, do you happen to know it off the top of your head? I think it was number...
I do not.
I think it was Sembrant.
Yeah, my lineup page actually just closed.
It was either Sembrant or Illisted. I think it was Sembrant.
So I know the ball goes off Anderson. I think it was Sembrant. Yeah.
I think it was Sembrant. And so what she's doing is the ball is coming in from Sembrant's left. She's facing her own net. So she's kind of facing over here where Rapinoe is crossing it in. And Rapinoe is crossing it in, bending towards the goal. And she tries to play it with her right foot. She gets her right foot to it and does really well to sort of hit it out of the way. But Carli Lloyd is pressuring her there. The ball falls to Tobin Heath, who takes her defender one-on-one. Doesn't really take... She just does a couple hip swivels and goes to cross the ball, very clearly goes to cross the ball. Right. It gets deflected by Anderson into her own net. JP Delacamera and Ali Wagner are losing their minds at how great Tobin Heath is and how ridiculous it was that she took the shot when it was clearly a cross. And so then it goes to VAR to review the Carli Lloyd offside call. It ends up not being called because, similar to the Sam Kerr versus Brazil thing, I guess she didn't actually get to the ball, and that's why she's not offside.
I don't know.
But I guess this is the letter of the law, but this just doesn't feel right. Matt, I've talked for a while now. What did you make of the goal and all these sort of things?
So Carli Lloyd was clearly offside. Okay, so there's no question about that. Now, I do think that of the incidences that have happened in this World Cup, this is the least egregious.
Really?
Because
I think this is more egregious than the Kerr one.
See, no, I think this is less. And the reason why is because I didn't think the Swedish player, I think it was Sembrant, when she turns and follows the ball, Carli Lloyd is behind her and the ball's in front of her. So that's the only thing that I can think of is Carli Lloyd is behind her, not really involved in the play. That was my justification for it. I thought the Kerr one. There goes a skateboarder. Yeah, I forgot I have my windows open. So that's the only thing that I can think of. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was called back, but it wasn't. So, and I'm going to give the Total Soccer Show guys a shout out, but they discussed, and I actually reached out to an official, and he gave the ruling that they want to encourage attacking play, and it's up to the defenders. You shouldn't defend them for
not clearing the ball properly. Like they shouldn't get bailed out for not clearing the ball properly. I can get that to an extent, but you also have sympathy for the defenders that wouldn't have played that ball at all if Carli Lloyd wasn't there. So I guess defenders should just let the balls go to the attackers in the future, because that is, I guess, more likely that they'll be called offside. That's just where I'm frustrated with it. And then lastly, I get that everybody, you know, is very hyped about Tobin Heath, but I'm in your camp. I think she tries to do a little bit too much. And again, on this one, it was fortunate deflection. And yeah, she creates the opportunity, but I'm not seeing what everyone else is seeing as far as like she's the next greatest, you know, 1v1 player or anything like that. And I don't know, again, I don't watch a ton. I've only seen her in 2 matches because she didn't play in the other one. And so I haven't been overly impressed with her. I would take someone like Kristen Press or Rose Lavelle over her, just based on what I've seen so far, just because they're a little bit more just involving teammates. And similar to what I was talking about with Cameroon, and we've seen it with other teams, if one attacker tries to do too much, everybody else just gets static and they're not moving, and it just sort of grinds to a halt. So, you know, I don't want to harp on Tobin Heath too much, but again, she does well to create the goal there. Props to her, but it was ultimately an own goal there. Any other thoughts before we kind of talk about the rest of this?
So yes, I am going to harp on Tobin Heath some more. I think that how she's playing is a huge problem. I think that against better opposition, because Sweden is not better opposition at this point, I thought they were fairly easily beaten by the United States, and they could not take advantage of pretty open opportunities that they created. I think that the way Heath is playing is going to cause a lot of problems. I think that she's going to have issues that when she gets mentally, she's gotten a lot stronger than she used to be, but she can kind of baby out a little bit, if you will. When she gets fouled or gets tackled hard, she can like sit there and complain, and then the counter can be already sprung. So I actually have quite a few concerns. I don't know why Ellis isn't going, okay, Tobin, that's great. One move every so often, not every damn time you're on the ball. Every time it's like, I'm going to carry the ball end line, try to juke like 3 or 4 different defenders. The defense is going to set up. Everybody else is going to be static, and then see what I do. Woo, look at me. So the cool thing is yeah, Tobin Heath is really technical on the ball. I mean, the most technical player that I ever saw, I had to go back and like watch matches of him on YouTube, was Ronaldinho. That dude was amazing. But you know what he didn't do? He didn't constantly hold up play, so his teammates never got opportunities. He was always passing to his teammates. And this is the thing that I wrote down. Why is Tobin Heath incapable of passing the ball immediately? That's the thing. Okay, so use your strength to be your strength. Don't turn your strength into a weakness by constantly holding onto the ball. These teams are going to figure out that all they have to do is put 2 people in, like France. She's not going to get by 2 defenders on France. She's not going to, or 2 defenders on, well, maybe Germany. Their defense has been a little suspect. She's not going to be able to get by better defenses like she's trying to, and it's just going to give them time. And as you know, time is space, and she's going to pay for it. And I think it's arrogant play. So
yeah,
there's my harp done. Rant over.
All right, so that's something we're going to be looking out for as this tournament goes on. Press comes on for Lavelle in, I didn't know the minute, but sometime in the second half. And the U.S. has a clear switch of formation. You could see Kristen Press putting up fingers, and I think they went either to a 4-2-3-1 or 4-1-4-1. But it was odd that Press went to center forward, Carli Lloyd dropped to center mid, and then Haran and Mewis came to center defensive mids, and more or less the Lloyd and Press kind of move was a little bit odd to me. And you saw Carli Lloyd kind of have a foul. What's that?
Why is that?
Because in the 69th minute, Carli Lloyd committed a foul in the own defensive half, and it was just over aggression from someone who's not necessarily used to being on that part of the pitch. And I think it was because she was playing the position that she was. And Carli Lloyd is amazing going forward. She's uber aggressive and all of that. But as a center midfielder, you have to know when to use that aggression wisely or not. You know, when you're giving a foul about a yard or 2 outside of your own 18 over to the side, it was a very dangerous opportunity for Sweden, and they ultimately hit it over the bar. But, you know, it just gave away a needless opportunity for a foul that didn't need to be committed. And Aslani knew Carli Lloyd was going to run through her. So that was why it was odd to me. And then I think the free kick happens. or maybe it was shortly after this. But then eventually Sweden has a player injured and Lloyd goes back to center forward. They drop Tobin Heath to the middle and then press out wide, which again, I thought was probably smart of the US because they didn't want to give a foul away. Last thing I noted was that Kelly O'Hara was still incredibly physical, even though she picked up a yellow card. And I was worried. Yeah. I was worried about that. And then I started watching Chile versus Thailand. So I probably missed most of, if anything happened late in the match, but probably 80th minute on. Matt, anything else you want to add?
Not really.
Okay. US gets through 2-0 in this one, and the knockout stage is set at this point. So just to set the stage here, we have Norway hosting Australia on Saturday on the left side of the bracket. Let's just do the bracket in total. So Norway and Australia are on the left side, England, Cameroon, France versus Brazil, and Spain versus USA. That is the left side of the bracket. That is an absolute gauntlet. No matter who's coming through that, they're going to be tested. On the opposite side of the bracket, we have Italy taking on China, Netherlands versus Japan, Germany versus Nigeria, and Sweden versus Canada. And so, yeah, that is what's going to happen. We'll preview the matches, but before we talk about the matches on Saturday, Matt, what was your save of the day today?
Oh, let me look it up. It was, what did I write down?
It was a sliding one from the first match.
Oh, yeah. It was 38th minute when Labe just makes a fantastic save where she comes out and basically slide tackles the ball and Minima. That was great because she had to come way off her line and time it perfectly, and she did a great job. So, and she had more ground to cover than Minima did.
Got it. And so my save of the day was 64th minute. Naylor for New Zealand has the triple save. The first two are on Gwene. She just makes herself big, but the real save was then on the third rebound for Takunda. She gets down really well to her left very quickly and makes a very nice save. So those three saves are my save of the day, but really the third one was most impressive. Matt, what was your goal of the day?
My goal of the day was the Christine Sinclair goal. That brings her within 2 of Abby Wambach's record, and plus it was a fantastic goal.
And that was served in by Lawrence, right, on the right side?
Correct.
Yeah, so that was really, really great. My goal of the day is the 95th minute goal for Cameroon. It's just fantastic individual work by Shoot, the drama of it, to score in the 95th minute, to send your country through to the knockout rounds. That had to be the goal of the day. You could see all of the emotion on the Cameroonian players. And Ganamui didn't even celebrate with her teammates. She was just crying on the bench. Players were sprawled out. They were celebrating. That was just such a cool moment. And so that was going to be, and I'm just going to go ahead. That's also my moment of the day. And so that's my goal and moment of the day. Matt, what was your moment of the day?
My moment of the day is just the U.S.'s first goal. It was the earliest goal scored in this World Cup at like 2 minutes, 30 seconds. It was a really nice play. It came off nicely. And all of a sudden, people realize, hey, the U.S. is actually better than, or as good as advertised.
All right. Maybe. And yeah. And so that's it. That's a wrap for the group stage matches. Now let's talk about the 2 knockouts. So today is Thursday. We are going to be off. Everybody, it's okay. We'll be back on Saturday. Matt, I don't know if you're joining me on the weekend. If not, that's okay. But
I could do. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Probably. Yeah.
Sweet. So we'll be back on Saturday. I will definitely be here, and Matt will hopefully be joining me. But we have Germany taking on Nigeria in the early match. That is at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Then we have Norway versus Australia at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is our round of 16 first knockout round matches. Matt, what do you think is going to happen in Germany, Nigeria?
I think Germany is going to crush Nigeria. There isn't really a whole lot more to say. I don't think Nigeria really has anything. Maybe Nigeria will get a goal, but I think Germany's going to score 4. They looked so good in their previous match, and Nigeria doesn't really have a defense. So
I'm in agreement. I think that Nigeria is very fortunate to be in the position that they're in. I haven't been impressed with them throughout this tournament, and Germany has slowly been looking better and better each match. I think that continues here, and Germany wins pretty handily. Norway versus Australia, Matt. This is a really interesting one. What do you think is going to happen there?
I don't know. Norway has certainly had issues, and Australia has had tons of issues. I don't think. So I didn't think Australia looked as good as their 4-goal total in their previous match, but Australia just doesn't really have They just don't really have a defense. So maybe, I don't know. I guess I would. Yeah, because you can't. Yeah, I can't tell what's going to happen. I think Norway's going to win, or they should win. Norway should win. That's what I'm going to say. But I can't give you a score. I have no idea what it's going to end up being. So.
All right, yeah. I was very impressed with Norway in the first match. Their subsequent matches, I haven't been overly impressed with them outside of Engen. I want to say Van Engen. I don't know why. Engen has been really impressive for me at the center midfield role. I'm going to give the slight edge to Norway here too. I think that they do come through, but this is when things get real, and right. I'm not certain. I mean, Australia has been there before. Norway has historically, but over the last, couple of years, I don't know if they necessarily have been. And so I'm really excited about this one. But again, I'm going to give the slight edge to Norway in that one. Matt, who's the one player you're going to be looking out for on Saturday?
Well, I mean, Australia goes as Sam Kerr goes. So my player to watch out for is Sam Kerr. I know she's been a couple times, I think, already, but she's just kind of hard not to pay attention to.
So mine is going to be Sarah Debritz, for Germany. Yeah. She's been getting goals for them. She has been all over the pitch, center midfield, out wide, attacker, not defender, but, getting back as a midfield defender. And so I've been really impressed with her for Germany. She might be the most impressive German player that I've seen at this tournament. And so I'm going to keep an eye on her, see if she gets another goal and see if she looks really good. So that is it. That is for today's podcast. Matt, anything else you would like to add?
No, sir.
All right, cool. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on YouTube. And if you're listening, thank you so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a review on iTunes. That would be really, really awesome, and we would greatly appreciate that. You can find us on Twitter at BT Soccer Pod. Matt, what is your Twitter handle?
At Northwood Guitar.
So give him a follow over there. If you want to email us, our email is bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com. We have a Slack channel where we're chatting with soccer fans from all over the world. So if you want to get into that, it's free to join. It's just a way to interact with soccer fans all over. Hit us up on Twitter or send an email. We have a website, brostalkingsoccer.com. You can visit. You can see our past episodes. You can read about myself, my brothers, check out our YouTube videos. We have a store link if you want to buy some merchandise and or support the show. And with that, Matt, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, listen, man. Thank you. You too. I appreciate that. Listeners, thank you for being here, and we hope you have a wonderful day as well. We thank you so much. Go enjoy the rest of your week. Get excited for the knockout rounds. We will be back on Saturday. See you, everybody. Sal and Jeff, thank you guys for being here. Best defense is the best Jeff. Offense. But no, I really feel Australia has the win. Okay, so Sal is thinking Australia's going to win that one. Interesting.
Where's Sal from?
I could see that. I think you're down in LA, right, Sal? I know Sal is the guy that, Matt, you couldn't see his tweets that one time, and you asked me who he was.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah, because he is a locked account, but now Sal is tweeting from his Sal Talk Soccer, right, Sal?
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, got it. So cool. But thank you guys for being here. We always appreciate you interacting with us, and I'm excited for the knockout rounds. This is when things start to get real, and we're getting some really good matchups. So I'm pumped about it. But have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.